Hey everyone, today we're going to be testing out 2 new products from Huda Beauty. First of all, the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Primer, and secondly, her Easy Blur Foundation. These two apparently work like magic together. I've been testing out this foundation with and without this primer. So today I'm going to bring you all of my wear test footage, both in here in the studio and out in daylight. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. So I'm pretty sure that you have seen these 2 products everywhere. And you know what? I'm going to say one thing. The marketing for this foundation was off the scale. I feel like I've been waiting forever for this foundation because it has been so hyped up and so well marketed. Couldn't have been any more excited to get my hands on this, honestly. If you've been to my channel before, you might know that I don't actually use primers generally. I tend to just use a moisturizer, kind of 3-in-1, which is my Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. I don't tend to need a primer, but Huda made me want this primer so much. So I'll demonstrate these for you today with primer on one half and none on the other. However, I did full day wear tests with and without the primer, and I'll put the end results side by side so that you can see and judge for yourself whether or not you think you need this primer. My advice before you pick up any foundation is have a look at the information on the product. Have a look at whether you think it will actually suit you, your skin type and your preferences. So let's just have a quick look at some facts about this foundation. So it retails for about £32 and it comes in 30 shades. And I actually noticed on her website today that there is actually a mini available of the foundation which retails for £13 for 10ml. So that's a really good option if you don't want to splurge on the £30. You can invest in the smaller size and test it out before you commit. So this claims to be a serum-like foundation with 1.5% skin smoothing niacinamide. It contains pore blurring silica for the most natural airbrushed finish. It is fragrance and alcohol free. It is non-comedogenic, meaning it shouldn't break you out. It is lightweight and melts into the skin. So it claims to be ultra blurring, give you 12 hours of wear, and is a serum-like foundation. Now, as for the Easy Blur Primer, this retails for £30, and with both of these, the foundation and with the primer, you get 30ml of product. This is a silicone-free blurring primer that is good for your skin. It is packed with blurring polymers which help to instantly control excess oil, smooth texture and blur pores. It is a translucent pink jelly textured primer which blends to clear on application. You can wear it alone or you can wear it beneath your foundation. It has a soft focus finish to make your makeup last longer. Alright, so that's enough of the information. So I already have my skincare on, which is just the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. And just to demonstrate it for you, just so you can see whether you think there is a difference, I'll do the primer on one side and I'll do just the foundation on the other. And then I'll move on to the wear test and show you the day where I used the primer versus the day that I didn't. So I picked this up in the shade Latte, which I would definitely say is my winter shade. I think I will go to Toasted Coconut in the winter time. Huda says to use 2 fingers worth of primer for the whole face. I'm just going to go in with this amount because I'm only doing one side of the face. And when I'm applying this primer, I just do it with my fingers, which is very unusual for me because I don't generally like to use my fingers. But it feels like a serum. It feels really nice, and I actually feel like I can get it into the skin more with my fingers. It is pink, which I was really surprised at. I don't know why. I wasn't expecting it. But then again, I don't use many primers, so maybe loads of primers are pink, but I just don't use them. I like to apply this and then I like to let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes just to let it work into the skin and do its thing. I don't take it under my eyes, by the way. I just try to keep my under eyes as free from product as possible. So I'll just rub it into the skin. It feels absolutely lovely, by the way. Just giving it a rub in. Feels really cooling. Don't forget your problematic areas. So for me, it's kind of round the nose and my chin, anywhere where I have a little bit of texture or pores. So that's with the primer on this side. And that's with none. Don't know if you notice the difference or not. I think it has brought down the shine a little bit. I don't really notice it blurring the pores on its own, when it's on its own. With the foundation on, it's very different. I will pop some foundation now, just onto this side where I'm not using the primer. We're gonna go in with the Easy Blur now, and it says to give it a good shake. So that's one big squeeze. I was actually surprised at the fluidity of the foundation. I actually didn't know what to expect with this. I was expecting it to be a bit thicker than this. So this makes me happy, really, really happy. So I'm going in with my favorite foundation brush, which is the BK Beauty 101. And I'm just going to coat the bristles a little bit. It's really lightweight. Super easy to blend. It's a great colour match to me. So I'm light to medium with, I have olive undertones, but they're muted warm undertones. So I usually go for neutral foundations if there's no olive shade. So this is a neutral foundation in the light to medium category. So I probably used about half of that, a half of the pump on my face. And here's the difference. So this side has the foundation on and this side has just the primer at the moment. Nothing. Foundation. It's really beautiful, isn't it? Really, really beautiful. So just to finish this side off so it doesn't look so odd, I'm going to pop a little bit of concealer on. I'm just going to go in with my favourite Serum concealer, and that's from NYX. This side, just the foundation. This side, with nothing. So now I'm going to go in with the foundation on this side over the primer, and then you can judge for yourself whether you actually think there is a difference on both sides. Before I put any concealer on, let's just have a look at the difference between the two sides. This has no primer. And this has primer. Can you tell? Can you notice a difference? Let me pop a bit of concealer on and then we'll talk about it. Before we break things down, let's have a quick look at the before and after. This foundation, I would say it's a very solid medium coverage, which you would definitely be able to build up to full. I know that it's supposed to be a natural finish. I don't massively get a natural finish from it. So a natural finish, in my interpretation, is when you look at someone and you can't actually figure out whether they've got foundation on or not. I don't think you would look at me and go, I don't think she's wearing any foundation. I think you would know that I have foundation on my skin, and that's okay. Sometimes we want to look like we've got foundation on and sometimes we don't. It depends what kind of look we're actually going for. I wouldn't say it's skin-like, but I would say that it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's covered my thread veins on my nose. It almost covered my sunspots. It's evened out all of my skin tones so beautifully. I had a nice little spot on my face there, which I think it's masked really well. I do think the foundation does oxidize ever so slightly. I don't think it's an orange oxidizing, but I think it does go marginally darker. Let me just finish off my makeup so you can see what a full face looks like, and then we will be back to chat about the wear tests and what I found when I put it to the test. So I'll be back in a mo. Makeup has gone on really, really nicely, and I do have to say that I believe that on the side where I did use the primer, it has gone on just that little bit nicer than the other side. Both fine, but there's just something a little bit special about the primer side, honestly. It's really, really nice. Let me take you through now my wear tests. So the first time I wore this on its own with no primer. I found it really, really easy to blend out. Now on this day, obviously, I decided to get a really big spot on my face, but I think the foundation did a really, really good job at covering that. I thought it covered everything really well. I felt like it maybe looked a little bit on the heavy side around my pore area, around my nose and my mouth, which would be a problematic area for me anyway. But it still looked really, really nice, really, really luminous, really, really radiant. So heading out into the daylight, it's really quite a reflective foundation. Very, very flattering, especially on mature skin. On this day, I had forgotten that I had a dentist appointment and I went to have my teeth cleaned by the hygienist. And I have airflow cleaning, which is basically blasts of water onto your teeth. Inevitably, all of the spray from the airflow cleaning gets all over your face. So I had been in the chair getting my teeth cleaned, water all over my face, dental assistant wiping the area around my mouth, and I'm thinking, no, please stop wiping the foundation away. So I was able to put it absolutely to the test for you. So this is at the end of a 13-hour day, and I think even though I'd had water sprayed all over my face, I'd had someone actually wiping my face with a tissue. It still remained intact. Obviously, it has faded a little bit and there's a couple of patchy bits around my mouth, but this really did stand the test of time, I thought. I think it's still, at the end of the day, it looked acceptable despite all of this. Moving on now to the day where I tested it with the primer. Again, I wasn't really expecting much from this primer. I don't know why, maybe because I'm not really a primer kind of person, but oh my goodness, I was absolutely blown away immediately at how much I loved it upon application with the primer. Immediately, I knew that I wanted to wear this with the primer all the time. I think you can see in the footage there, I was genuinely shocked. This was at 6 a.m. in the morning and I've never been so excited about a product. Out in the daylight, super blurring, super airbrushed. I thought it looked beautiful. My pores looked good, my texture looked good, everything looked really, really gorgeous, and I hadn't powdered at all on either of these days. At the end of 13 hours again, look at it, it's barely faded with the primer. Barely at all. I'm going to show you a side by side of the 2 days at the end of the day and you will see how well this fared. And looking at it side by side, I think you can see, obviously I know I'd been to the dentist on one side, but I still don't think there's any contest. This primer is very special. It's beautiful and it actually kills me to say it because it is an extra expense, but this primer makes all the difference to this foundation. Let's have a chat about the pros and cons of this foundation. So let's take the foundation on its own. I genuinely think that it's a beautiful foundation on its own. I don't think it's super natural on the skin. However, I do think it gives you a very natural glow, a very natural radiance. So it's not super makeup-y, but I think that if you use too much of it, it can look a little bit heavy around the pore area. However, it's very lightweight, very easy to blend. I think it feels hydrating. It has amazing longevity throughout the day and it works well with the primer and without the primer. So you don't have to invest in the primer in order to get a good result from this foundation. One of my favorite things about this foundation is that you actually don't have to powder it. I have put a bit of the Easy Bake just in my T-zone and under my eyes today, but that's just because of the reflection of the lights. You don't need to powder with this. It's very self-setting. It has a natural luminosity to it, but it's not the type that's going to get greasy or overly shiny. It just stays really, really nice all day. So the negatives, I think that in order to elevate this foundation to its true full potential, you do need the primer. I haven't tried this primer with other foundations, so I don't know how it works with other products. I'm sure that it would be amazing though. But I do think that if you want to get the full airbrushed, full blurred look, I think you do need to invest in the primer. So that's the major negative for me because this is £32 and this is £30. Now, I actually bought them from ASOS and they had a discount on that day. I think it was 20% off. So I got a good deal. I think if you can wait for a deal for these or if you can pick up the mini of this. I don't know if they do a mini of the primer. Let me check. No, I couldn't see a mini for the primer, but they do offer on her website these two for a discounted rate, so in a package. I'd say that's the biggest negative. It's a positive and it's a negative as well. I have never been into primers, never. If you've followed me for a while, you will know this. I just don't love them, but I do love this. I think this is going to be one of my holy grail products, and you know that I wouldn't say that if I didn't truly mean it. I can truthfully tell you that because I've tested with and without, and although it might not be overly obvious on my face today that the prime side looks better than the non-prime side, it definitely blurs, it definitely airbrushes, it definitely soothes, it calms, it does control those oils. You saw from the footage that this foundation just lasted so much longer and looked great for much longer because of the primer. My advice would be to maybe pick up the foundation, see if you like it, and then you'll know that if you get the foundation and then you pick up the primer, you know it's going to be even better than what it is on its own. In comparison to her other foundations, so this one is the foundation stick, discontinued. That's been discontinued. This one is the full filter. Yeah, I didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. It was very heavy, very full coverage. On the website, it does break down the similarities and differences between the two. This one is definitely more full coverage, definitely more matte. It doesn't have the natural luminosity that the Easy Blur does. It's a no-brainer for me. So if you like the same kind of coverage that I do, if you like medium coverage with a very luminous finish, I think go for the Easy Blur. But if you like something more full, then you will go for the full filter. I do just want to finish this video off by saying I think Huda has done an amazing job with this foundation. And although I was a little bit skeptical and I think it was really hyped up, I think it's worth the hype. I think this is one of the foundations of the year. Sometimes when you've got more mature skin like me, you know, you've got a few more fine lines knocking around, you do worry about foundations and you worry about them sitting into them. And although it's not perfect, which no foundation is, I think she's done an incredible job. And I really do think she's knocked it out of the park with this one. And I'm just so delighted that I wasn't disappointed by it. I adore it. These two together, dream team, real dream team. Please do let me know what your thoughts are on these products down in the comments, because it really does help other people in seeing what your experiences are or what your opinions are. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, take care and bye for now.